Hey everyone, it's the Shawn. Welcome to another edition of the Influencer of Tomorrow. Today we're bringing you lessons. We got Kedma Ough joining us, superhero for small business. And our goal always is to help you, that business owner, business leader, build your influence, get more of what you want to get done, help make that difference, and of course, build your business and your prosperity. That's our goal from the show. Kedma's going to bring us some great lessons. She's got some fantastic stuff out there. We'll tell you about her world, what she's doing in just a minute. Joining me is my regular co-host, George Hendley, speaking coach, all over the speaking world. He's known a lot of the great speakers of time. He understands all the books, all the theories, and brings it to practical applications for his clients. I was one of his clients as I was building my speaking business, still talk to George all the time about speaking. And of course, we've launched into this Influence for Tomorrow. I'm the Shawn, for those who don't tune in as often. I'm a corporate lawyer by training. And my whole thing is the future of business. And what's so important in the future, being yourself, having a strong personal brand. Themes we're going to play in today in today's episode of Influencer of Tomorrow. I'm not sure where you're watching. You might be picking us up on YouTube. You might be watching this on LinkedIn, one of our feeds. You might be picking this up on Facebook. Wherever you're at, drop comments. Let us know what you're learning, what questions you have, what insights you have. We'll write back to you. We'll interact with you. So we want to know what you learn, what questions you have, what we can bring you in the future. Because we're going to help you be that better influencer of tomorrow. So we'll jump into that in just a second. Quick reminder, we don't do investment advice or legal advice on the show. Everything here is just for your education. So let's jump into it, Kedma. How's your world?
Amazing. I live in a Disney world. I love it.
You've got a cape on today, which I love, right? So let's just jump right into that. You wear the cape because you are a superhero.
Yes.
And you encourage others to be superheroes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, nobody's going to probably admit it, but wouldn't it be cool if you had an opportunity to get up and go to work, whether you're a lawyer or whether you're doing investments or whatever, and you're wearing your cape?
Yep. Well, you know, you met Casey Hasten the other day. Casey has capes at the office. They hang capes on their cubicles.
Yes.
They celebrate their personality, right? So
Shawn's got a wraparound cape. It's called
I wear a
business suit with pineapples on it.
I wear my do business differently suit.
I love that. I love that.
Featured today.
Yes.
You know, and for me, you know, it's part of my brand. It's like encourage people, do business differently, think outside the box. What can you do differently? Right. Not necessarily wear a suit, not necessarily wear a cape, but wearing a cape sounds like a lot of fun, right, Ken?
It is so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and you walk up on stage in capes. You go to events in capes. The cape is always around.
It's always around. If I'm not wearing the cape, like when I bicycle, I have you know, my emblem right on my helmet. When I scuba dive, I have a custom suit made. You name it. It's when I ski, I have a setup. So it's a uniform for me, right? It's a uniform for me. So I take it pretty seriously.
Well, and it's part of your message, right? I mean, it's part of what you're
my
connecting
message
with people. Tell people about that. So let's jump into why. Why do you wear a cape? Why do you want other people thinking about being superheroes?
Well, I think that the human species, we're fascinated, especially here in the US, we are fascinated with superheroes, right? Every time a new superhero comes out, people are running to see what's next, right? What's going to happen? And there's this, you know, we go there and we spend an hour and we love the action, we love the message, and then we come back to our daily lives and we don't use it. We don't implement it. And if we do, we may not be aware we are superheroes. So my journey really began early on, where I unfortunately had to learn what it takes to be a superhero because, you know, I didn't have anyone coming to save me. But what I've learned over the course of doing this is you can be your own superhero. You don't have to go to the movies and watch it. You can come back to society and you can use your talents. And I don't care what you do. I don't care if you say, I'm just a virtual assistant, and just a virtual assistant to me means you're an amazing person who has the ability to maybe take care of a CEO, or you're the CEO. You can make a difference. You can show up in the world and really impact the world, which is what superheroes do, right?
Right. Yeah. So And that's what we talk about in the Influencer of Tomorrow. George, let me let you jump in for a moment here and ask a question or two.
Yeah, well, so one of the first things that comes to my mind, I think his name is Howard Gardner, and he wrote a fabulous piece of research about the intelligences of men and women, people, and everybody has a very unique set of intelligences. We measure, according to the IQ test, just 2. He's come up with at least 8 or 9. I held up 5, but I'm saying 8 or 9. So I think we all have unique gifts, talents, superhero traits of sort. And if we find them and bring them to the public in a really wonderful way, we can shine for what we're standing for and the values that we love and live for.
I love it. I love it. But you bring up something I just want to make sure. Most people don't want to shine.
Well, true. Unfortunately, true.
Right.
They want to blend in.
They want to blend in.
Shawn doesn't blend in. And even though I may be Mr. Conservative in how I dress, I don't blend in either because I have a voice and I know how to influence others.
Right. But I would say both of you are not in the majority.
True.
The majority of people I've worked with will say to me, I don't have enough value to express that, or I'm not, right? And so one of the things I always bring up is the idea of brag. Hear me out, because some people are thinking, brag? I don't want to brag. But brag is a term I developed that stands for bring repetitive, authentic greatness to the world. So if you are focused every day on bringing repetitive, authentic greatness in the world, you have to brag.
Yeah, right. And,
it's a gift.
Well, and there's a lot of us that have the philosophy, and I hope more people embrace it, that we all have life experiences. We have things we've been through.
True.
We have lessons to bring forward. And I believe the world would be a better place if more people brought their lessons forward, right? So there might be people out there listening that are maybe a little bit more on the shy side that haven't cut that corner or thinking about taking it to the next level. Those lessons are going to help other people, right? There's always a duty to bring that lesson forward to help the world, get us to a better place.
I love what one comment to that, Shawn, is you made it really clear, bringing your lessons forward, and most people bring their problems forward.
True.
Right? They want everybody to know that they're this, my problem, I'm a victim. And I get it, because in the superhero world, you only really have 4 characters. You have the victim character, and there are victims. Can't argue that. You have the spectators, which is the majority that just watch and don't do anything. You have, of course, our fellow villains, right?
Yes.
Somewhere out there who make superheroes.
Have work, yeah.
Right. We have work to do because, the villains decide, hey, we're quitting. We're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
We'd have to quit.
Well, let me bring up something. As we're talking about superheroes and villains, there's a question I've been wanting to ask you, and I've never had the chance. So the show's been a great opportunity. So there's a copywriter who I read a lot from. The guy's named Ben Settle. He's also there in Oregon. Are you familiar with Ben?
No.
Okay, so the guy's named Ben Settle. He's got a very good following. He teaches copywriters how to be copywriters. And he writes a newsletter. He's a very opinionated guy, takes positions on a lot of stuff. But Ben wrote a book about villains, and he loves villains because villains plan attacks. They are proactive. And he dislikes heroes because heroes are reactionary. They wait until a problem comes in and then they fix it. What would you say to Ben Settle about heroes versus villains?
That's a different slant.
That's a different slant. But it's really interesting. First of all, I'd ask Ben, is he a villain or a superhero? Let's start with that. What position
He's going to say he's a villain.
ever?
He's going to say he's a villain.
Well, then, if he's a villain, he's already subjective over here. We have to remove him from that conversation. So I'd ask him what side he's on.
Okay.
Or is he a spectator? And look, I am not going to sugarcoat that I believe that true villains in the world, in some cases, and you may disagree, but I'm going to argue otherwise, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. If you study history and you study some of the most heinous villains in the world, their ability to use their mind to influence millions, to convince them that maybe one category of people are bad and then try to eliminate them or annihilate them. Mm-hmm. That's a brilliant mind.
Yeah. Brilliant, right? Used for the wrong reason.
Brilliantly warped, but it's still
brilliantly warped.
Well, right. I see this a lot with criminal activity, particularly financial crimes, right? The people that are perpetrating the financial crimes,
exactly,
significant effort and significant planning into it.
Right. You know, I come from the cyber world. Those cyber hackers are brilliant. Mm-hmm. You know, I just had a real situation just happen. Talk about a villain. My husband, who will never be on here because he's very, he does not like this part.
He lets you wear the cape.
He lets me wear the cape, right.
You are the cape wearer.
You wear the cape.
That's right. That's right.
We know who wears the cape in that house.
Yeah, very conservative. Exactly. I love that. So he's also in the health technology world. So this week, he got a phone call from his bank. The phone number read phone call from his bank because he has the number dialed into his phone, right? Mm-hmm. So he knows the bank is calling. The bank called and said he just had received a fraud and that he has to verify his verification. But it came from the bank. So he did. Right. Verified the verification. The person on the phone verified the card number. In that split of 2 minutes, they took a couple of $1,000s out of his account.
Wow.
And he came to me and he said, what could I have done differently? It was the bank calling. Mm-hmm. I said nothing. The only thing you could have done is probably said to the bank, I know you're calling from the bank's number, but I'm going to call you back. What else could you have done? I would have done the same thing.
That's the best you can do. Yeah, I mean, interestingly, this is years ago, but I had a credit card number get stolen. A lot of charges were on the credit card, so I called the bank and canceled it. And almost immediately after I canceled it, somebody called me from the bank, and they're like, yeah, thanks for calling us. We just want to, this is the fraud department. We want to follow up with you. Same deal. So whoever stole the credit card number also had my phone number.
Wow.
And what they were doing is they were going to run the credit card up. As soon as I cut the credit card off, they tried to call me for more information so they'd come after me a different way. But I did the same thing. I hung up and then I called them and they're like, that wasn't us calling you.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
So they have the brilliance, but they don't have the ethics. They don't have the empathy. They don't have the values. So going back to that question, what would I say? Are we more reactive? I would say I would respond to him this way. And if you want to put him on the show with me, yay!
That'd be fun. You're both in Oregon. I'll ask him.
I would say to his point that it's not that we're reactive, but we prioritize what is necessary to save people. So I am constantly working on things that are very proactive in serving and influencing and making changes that are bettering people. But if I hear a call to action, I will drop those things and go and help others.
Yeah.
Because that is an emergency in my mind. So we're not reactive. We're just prioritizing what's important.
I love it. It's a great response. George?
I'm sitting there just taking all of this in
and realizing face to face with a fellow superhero.
Yep.
I'm face to face with a fellow superhero.
That's
and
right.
I've never known she was out there in Oregon for all of these years.
No. Yeah.
Now I know. Kedma, I'm glad we're able to make the connection today.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome. So I just love the philosophy. So Kedma, talk to our listeners about how they can be their own superhero, how they can embrace their superhero-ness in their business or their missions to influence.
Well, before they can go out and do things like this, big stuff, making changes, whether it's with their employees or in the community, it always has to start with themselves. Now, look at the superheroes of the world. Could you imagine if you were sitting watching the movie and you saw a scene where Wonder Woman says, just don't feel confident today.
It makes us laugh, right? It's funny because it's such a contradiction.
Don't feel it. Now, could you imagine, really, if we're sitting down, you're watching, and you see Superman sitting down saying, I'm ready to quit. That last kryptonite, it's not worth it. I'm just going to move on. It's not who I am anymore. Or what if Spider-Man, right? You see something happening, right? You're looking at the building because he's always on the building. He's always out there with, getting ready. And he turns around and says to you, I'm taking a sick day. All right, just call someone else.
Yeah.
All right, it begins with you.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning I wake up and I say two things to myself. I say I'm the luckiest person in the world because I really believe that. I believe that luck comes to me and I am that. And I also believe, I'm not saying we should all say this, but I do believe, and I say this, today is my last day on earth. I say that with such intensity because I have to be really clear. What am I going to do today to make a difference?
Yeah.
Today is my last day. I don't have time to play. I don't have time to sit in the clouds and to worry about what other people think. I have to get things done. So it begins with you.
Yeah.
Once we can work on that, then you can worry about what you can do to help other people surrounding you. And then you can decide how big you want to go. But if you have not worked on yourself, that's where we begin.
Well, I think working on yourself is powerful, and the one piece that spoke to me right there, and maybe it helps some other people, is that idea that if you are there and you're worried about what other people are thinking, you're not helping some people, right? So you're worried about everybody's opinion, and because of that, you're not impacting the people you should be impacting.
Exactly.
That's profound.
I call that the oxygen mask thought process, because every time you get on a plane, they say to you, if the oxygen mask drops, put yours on first, then help the person next to you. And that's all really where it's at. If you're not helping yourself first, you're not going to be able to help someone else. And there are plenty of people that need help, but you do have to help yourself.
Absolutely.
First. That's
Absolutely. The other thing I tell my clients, and I live by this, is when you have your superhero energy, that's yours. You only offer the reserves. So the reserves are available for everyone else. If my reserves become depleted, nobody gets my foundational stuff. The only people that may are my own children. But that's because I am now running a risk that can affect my own ability to be healthy as a superhero. So the reserves are the only thing that belongs to other people, not your core energy.
There you go.
I love it. It's very powerful. Such a powerful analogy.
A great book I read years ago by John Maxwell, I think it was one of the very first books he ever wrote, was Developing the Leader Within You. Yes. He wrote that, then he followed it, developing the leaders around you. But he was very, very aware that if you don't take care of you, you won't be able to take care of the others that are important to you and important to the world.
Right. Now, some people listening may say, how can I take care of myself? I have all these other responsibilities, right? Or I don't know how to take care of myself. Follow people who are modeling the life you want. Don't just follow anyone.
Right. And I think that's very powerful. There's a lot of successful people out there, but there's a lot of different definitions of success.
Thank you.
Good one, Shawn.
Thank you.
Good one.
Right.
And you got to find a definition of success that matches you. And I've certainly made this mistake earlier in my career. You start following somebody and you find their philosophy doesn't align with your philosophy.
Absolutely.
You don't get where they're going, right? They're at a completely different place.
Or their life is not what you want. They may be making millions of dollars and they're workaholics.
Right.
And that doesn't align for you.
Yeah. Right.
So
exactly.
it depends. It depends.
Definitely a lot of different opinions out there. So, one thing we often ask our guests, we don't get a chance to ask every guest this, but what does it mean to you to be an influencer, Kedma?
To me, an influencer is the ability to make a difference that is bigger than who you are. And I'll give you an example. I live and breathe in the economic world, right? Because where I want to make change is leveling the playing field so everybody has a chance to win in the money game. I'm big about that. I'm not in the cooking game. I'm a terrible cook. I'm not in that. Yeah, but the money game is where it's at for me. And I think that regardless of your education, your gender, your ethnicity, everybody has the right to know what the rules are.
Yep.
Good.
Right? And then decide whether they want to get in and play the game. If you don't know the rules, you can't play the game. It's like chess. If you don't know the difference between the pieces, you can't win.
Sure.
So in the year, it was the year 2010, I was frustrated with the lack of funding available for people who were innovating, making new products to make changes in life. You know, they were inventing ideas and concepts that weren't just everyday ideas, but maybe ideas to help with you know, certain important things that we needed on a national level.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get the banks to say yes, because you can't go to a banker and say, yeah, I have this idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work or not, but can you give me a little money? Right? It's not going to happen. So I flew to an event called SBIR. For the people listening, it stands for Small Business Innovation Research. And I was wowed because right in front of me, I watched agency after agency talk about grants that they were giving away for problems they needed solved. I said, oh, I just hit the lottery. I went back to Oregon. I started looking at all the companies in Oregon that had won these grants from this program. And at the time, about 300 companies had won about $70 million.
Wow.
Why only 300 companies? Why were they winning over and over and over again? Because there's a funding party happening. A few of us know because we've been invited, and the rest of us don't even know there's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember picking up the phone, calling this gentleman, Etzel, who was at the time headed up the SBIR, and I said, we want to be involved. We want to make this happen. And I said, well, the way I called him is I said, Etzel, you don't know who I am, but we have a problem. And he thought I was probably some crazy inventor. And I said, we have a problem because 300 businesses are getting 70 million. Where are the women? Where are the minorities? That's a superhero talking. And he went silent. And he said, I said, is this a problem? He said, yes, ma'am. And I'm going to be going to Congress to put a report out on how to increase more women and minority companies. And I said, I want to help. So fast forward, my birthday, 2011, I get a phone call from Etzel Brown. Kedma, we are sitting here in Washington, and the committee has decided we would like to have the next conference in the West Coast. We would like Oregon to be our sponsor. Great. What does that look like? Well, you have to raise $200,000, and if you do that, we will fly in and we will help with the conference. No problem. Hang up the phone. It's my birthday. I'm in the hotel. I start making phone calls. Every single agency I called, they said, great idea. We don't have the budget, but if you pull it off, we'll pay for a booth. Here's what I'm going to ask you, George and Shawn. What do you do if you're sitting on your birthday in a hotel room by yourself? Every single agency you know in Oregon rejects the opportunity to bring a national conference that you have to raise $200,000. You don't have a lot of money. You have about maybe $5,000 sitting in your nonprofit kitty. What do you do? Question to both of you.
It's a great, I'm brainstorming right now fast.
I want you to put yourself in the real situation. What would you do?
From my value system and who I am and what I pray. I go,
you pray.
God of the universe has all the money and the resources I need. I just need to tap in to his resources. I pray.
I love that. You pray.
Yeah.
I love that. Shawn?
I don't know. I'm looking for a sponsor here. Obviously, you hit a long list of nonprofits, so I'm going a different direction, right? I mean, I'm looking for a corporate sponsor, somebody outside the box.
Right.
I'm trying another path, right? I mean,
but it's tough, right?
Answer, right? It's a tough situation, certainly.
It's a tough situation. So I sat there in that same thing. Do I pray? Do I find another sponsor? Or do I step into my superhero role? And so I called them back and I said, Etzel, thank you for the opportunity. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the opportunity. Now, I don't recommend this at home. It's like a safety claimer. But I went back and I put down $50,000 of my own money. And at the time did not tell my husband. I love my husband.
Wow.
But sometimes with superheroes, if you look at The Incredibles, you do what you have to do. And I started hustling. And a year later, the national conference came to Oregon, changed the landscape for Oregon. In fact, the programs we have today resulted from that program.
Wow.
I do get all my money back, but that's a superhero. You can call it crazy. You can call it madness. But when I made the decision, I said at that moment, if I do not do something, then I am part of the problem.
Right.
And if I believe in this program, then I have to put my money where my mission is.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Well, and let's fast forward now, just for the viewers, is, you know, that your funding work has led to a book, you know, and so overnight success, McGraw-Hill book that's come out and all this. But I mean, you're talking about a decade of work or more than a decade of work.
More than a decade. Yes.
Yeah.
And actually 18 years, because my book is going to college now.
Yeah.
So I've been caring for it for 18 years. And that was a different superhero for the audience. The reason it's 18 years is 18 years ago, I had to file bankruptcy due to a relationship. Most women actually file bankruptcy, not because they're not good at math, because they have to leave a terrible relationship. Okay. And to your point, Shawn, the reason I got the book is I reverse engineered. And my thought was, what if we can find money for people like me, good people who have had a crisis happen, but also deserve to win the American dream?
Yep. Love it. So fast forward to your book. Why don't you plug your book, please? Tell people
Sure,
that.
absolutely. So my book is simple. It is literally a GPS process to teach people how to target funds specifically for their business and idea based on variables. So it doesn't matter if you have no credit, low credit, bankrupt, you are an inventor, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. We look at variables. So we have an entire chapter for women in funding. We have an entire chapter for LGBTQ in funding. We have chapters for religious in funding. If you're Jewish, we find funding for you, for your business. If you're Muslim, if you're Christian, it doesn't matter. We also have funding based on geographic location. We have funding based on industry, and everything is just laid out with actual resources that the minute you hit the chapters, you can go right onto their site and find the funding you're looking for. So it's an absolute GPS. And I did this because it was the book I needed. It was the book I needed. So it is because I am frustrated with the fact that people will go online to Mr. and Mrs. Google and try to find funding. And Mr. and Mrs. Google is going to give you 60 million hits. So we're not saying no to the lenders, and we're not saying no to the venture capitalists, but that is, in fact, the lenders, we don't even have a chapter. That's a bonus chapter. That's not even in the book, because we want to make sure we support all the other resources that are available that people don't even know about.
Fantastic stuff. Okay.
Kedma, if I was there with you, I'd give you a big high five. That's some great superhero insight.
Why? Tell me why, though. Why, George?
Why? Because again, unfortunately, we are all destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And it's the lack of knowledge of certain little nuances and things like what you've just put in front of everybody on this broadcast. I mean, this is, again, it's like, wow, I didn't really realize that. And that is just like a light bulb just goes on. Like, holy cow, there it is. Somebody's had a problem, faced that problem, wrote about it, and made it available then for everybody else. Love it.
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly. And that's what McGraw said. I asked McGraw, why did you choose a first-time author? A first-time author who, you could have chosen many, many authors on this subject, and this is what they said. Because you lived the solution you're offering your readers.
Wow.
You didn't come from the banking world. You didn't talk theory. You brought us into your world and what the experience was to go from bankruptcy to where you are today.
That's good.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
That's cool.
So, Kedma, how do people find you? How do they connect with you? Find your
Through
blog,
you.
see your great videos online? How do people find you?
Through George. There's a lot of ways. First of all, honestly, through you guys, because I want to honor that I wouldn't be on here if you hadn't invited me. So I want to honor back.
Well, thank you for being here, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. you can definitely find me. I was going to say in the Amazon jungle with all the other Wonder Women, but you can definitely find me on just Kedma O, my first name, last name. That's my website. Simple, easy. I'm a LinkedIn super connector. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn. And then also for any of the coaching I do, I am now the vice president of an amazing company called Automate, Grow, and Sell, where we're changing the landscape for home service industry. These people are, you know, you're talking about laborers, right? Electricians and painters and janitorial. And we are raising the bar to say, you can make a lot of money and still be in the blue collar industry, so to speak, especially for women and minorities. So there's lots of ways to find me. What I want to make sure is if you're going to find me, have a reason. Superheroes are super busy. That's why they're called super. Okay, exactly. It's not called lazy hero. Hanging out hero. So
Hanging out hero.
It's superhero. So give me the super response of what you need and how can I help, because I don't do a hi. You know, I need more than that.
Yep, powerful. All right, folks, so go check her out. I know she has fantastic videos on LinkedIn. Very popular, and you know.
And how can I support you guys? What do you need from me?
Send us more superheroes like you.
Yeah, we want more superheroes. You know, help spread the word. We're building this. This is a project. George and I just started this late 2018.
Right.
2019. We're interviewing influencers and figuring out what's working, and we're collecting.
Got it. I already know.
Be a book, so we want other influencers, and we want to get people out that want to be influencers. We want to welcome them into the family, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, join us, learn from us, and do this journey together. Right? We're learning from each other.
Got it. One last question before we close. Yes. You had both told me offline that you've had other shows where it's very contentious. You're fighting. How did you feel this show was? What was the energy?
This is a very good conversation. No, we wouldn't say the other one was contentious. Just we disagreed with our guest on a few points.
Okay.
So if I could, I'd give you 3 thumbs up, Kedma.
3 thumbs up. Okay.
3 thumbs up.
I once spoke at a conference. I was on a panel, and before the panel, they had us meeting. They're like, "We're going to have you argue about something," and they
my God,
they pre-staged it. They picked what we were going to argue about. So people, you know, we don't do that. We don't do that for the show. But this particular time, we disagreed on a few things.
Well, I will tell you one thing before you close. I was on a podcast, first time ever, where the person introduces me and says, "I've read your book. You're offering opportunities to teach people how to get free money and grants. Are you selling snake oil?"
Oh, wow. That's an opener.
Exactly. So that's how we began.
So you should come right back and say, "I bathe in snake oil. I got it all over me."
You want some of that?
Yeah, baby. Right. Come on, bring it on.
Bring it on.
It's been a lot of fun. Viewers, pat yourself on the back for doing the hard work, you know, investing in yourself, building your future, paying attention. Kedma, you know, has been a fantastic guest. Thank you for joining us. I know our viewers thank you as well. Make sure you comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring the bell, like this episode if you liked it, so that we know more. We want to hear from you. Want comments, so drop them wherever you're watching. Check us out at influenceroftomorrow.com, and we'll be talking to you all again very soon. Look forward to seeing you.
Bye, everyone.
Kedma, that